Okay. So now it should be working. There we go. Okay. Jeez.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to a live edition of the Crypto Chronicles. I'm didacticjd here once again with my fellow crypto enthusiast and resident expert, Krypto Lingo. How's it going, Crypto?
Doing pretty good. Same as always, I guess. How about you?
I'm doing well. It's been a long day, but I'm ready to learn something and excited to give you the opportunity to guide me through this complicated scenario of EIPs. And if we look at the screen here, we have sort of a brief rundown of what an EIP is when we talk about that. It stands for Ethereum Improvement Proposal. So in the Ethereum universe, to me, I'm sort of relating this sort of like as a law or a rule. Describe standards for the Ethereum platform, including core protocol specifications, client APIs. You know what an API is by chance?
That's like technical stuff. That's how computers talk to each other.
Gotcha. And contract standards. Network upgrades are discussed separately in the Ethereum project management repository. Okay. Um, so, some key terms it seems to be talking about: idea, draft, review, last call, final, stagnant, withdrawn, living. That's some of the jargon when they're talking about EIPs. And it looks like the
APIs.
go for it.
AP, API stands for Application Programming Interface. So
A programming
it's just,
interface.
yep, it's just like if you want to interact with an application like through code, you use the API.
Ah. And then it looks like the numbers are not just random or related to the order of EPIs. It looks like they're coded for what the EPI is referencing. So we have numerical groupings by core, networking, interface, ERC, meta, informational, um, and then interface. You just mentioned that with API. Okay, so improvements around API are, for example, are in the interface code 48. Well, we've got some. What what comes to mind before we dig into some of these site references? What's your general understanding of EIP? I'm sorry, EIPs, not EPIs. Of EIPs before we begin our deep dive.
An EIP is just what it says, I guess, an Ethereum improvement proposal. So it's um, basically an adding a feature or getting rid of a bug, or it's just a way for Ethereum to improve. Like if people come up with an idea of how to make it better, they create an Ethereum improvement proposal, and that's what adds features to something like Ethereum.
So, do these are these implemented, instituted with exclusively with major upgrades like Chapella, or can these be implemented or integrated with fairly high frequency?
Depends on how the technical lift, but Chapella was an EIP. I think it was EIP 4844, or maybe that was not. Maybe that's not correct, but every upgrade is an EIP. um, before Ethereum even had tokens, there was a EIP called ERC 20, and that was what That was the improvement that basically allowed us to have tokens on Ethereum. So every single little feature that Ethereum has started off as an Ethereum improvement proposal.
Oh, okay. Um, so it sounds like they get rolled out with upgrades or updates, which is not super frequent. We're talking about a couple of times a year, three, you know, maybe 3 or 4 times a year at the max, as far as I know. Okay, well,
Yeah, I'm not.
go for it.
I'm not too sure how often they do it. I do know that it seems like we have a couple big ones every year, but I don't know if there's maybe some smaller ones that happen that aren't as newsworthy. But I'm not sure how many happen every year.
Gotcha. Um, well, moving ahead, we have a link you provided, starting off at the Linux Foundation. What do we have here? Go, you've got the mic.
So basically, in order to understand EIPs, I wanted to give an example of what that would be before blockchains or before Ethereum. And everybody knows Windows and Apple. Those are private companies that are operating systems for computers that are privately owned. And Linux is an open source project that the whole world gets to work on, which is also an operating system for a computer. And when the whole world gets to work on something like that, when it's open source, it actually becomes the most secure because you don't just have one company with 100 employees working on it. You have everybody from across the world. And I don't care if you're Google, there's still somebody smarter somewhere in the world. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't think that there's not somebody really good with computers in India and China and North Korea and everywhere else around the world. So when it's open source project, it becomes the most secure. Um, and Linux was built basically the same way that Ethereum is. There's this site kind of goes through what it takes to contribute to Linux. There's basically you just kind of join a community. They share some of the bugs, and if you can figure out how to fix the bugs or how to improve Linux, you basically can donate to the open source code just like anybody else. That's how it's been built the whole time, and anybody's able to do it. And Ethereum's exactly the same way. The next tab shows
Oops.
that 90% of the top
Hmm.
1,000.
Let me see if I can find that next tab. My bad. Take it. Ah, it's just taking me to like the oh, it doesn't. It's not taking me to the search results. It's just taking me to Google.
Okay, well, I searched does Linux. So there's a difference between like a PC and a server. A server runs all the websites like Facebook and Amazon and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to find the stat that shows like how much Linux dominates that industry, and it says right here more than 90% of the top 1,000 websites in the world use Linux as the dominant system.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's like banks and schools and all the government. Everybody uses Linux because of how secure it is, because the whole world gets to basically play with the code base and try to hack it and all that stuff. So because it's an open protocol and everybody gets to build on it, it turns out that 90% of the top 1,000 websites ended up using that. So I just wanted to kind of give that perspective since Ethereum's kind of structured in the same way. It's just basically an open source project. And anybody that wants to work on the project, if they see something that they want to work on, all they do is submit an EIP.
And okay, so I was under the impression I was associating EIPs with DAOs, but now I see that it's not. So who do you submit an EIP to the Ethereum Foundation?
Um, so I think we can skip that Chat GPT tab since it
Okay.
didn't work. But the next one is the Ethereum.org
Mm-hmm.
improvement proposals. And this page kind of goes through the history and learn more. And um, down at the bottom where it says participate,
All right. Let me get help with the formatting a little bit. Scrolling down to the bottom. Okay.
it says
Participate.
participate.
And
And then right there under participate where it says EIP1.
all right. Transitioning. Participate. EIP1. Yeah. You want me to hit that?
Yeah, so when you click on that, that is the very first EIP that basically teaches you how to submit one yourself.
Ah.
So this is what somebody would go through.
Okay. And yeah, a brief explanation like what we were just looking at, and then very similar to some of the things we just talked about, at least at the beginning. Um, Preamble discussions. I'm trying to find a place that talks about submission. So,
So EIP workflow is kind of down.
mm-hmm.
Then it talks about shepherding, like it goes
Okay.
through every little thing that you need to know, basically, and the process. Idea, draft, review, last call, final, stagnant, withdraw, living. Those are all the steps. What belongs in a successful EIP? This is this is the guide on how to create one yourself, pretty much.
Okay. And this is compliments of the Ethereum Foundation.
Yep.
Okay. And it goes through idea, draft, review, last call,
Yep.
final, or withdrawn. And then stagnant. So EIPs that are relevant at some point and then go out of use, I guess, become stagnant, sort of like latent DNA or latent genes in our DNA that were of some use many generations ago, but and are still embedded in there, but just aren't activated or turned on. Let's see. Or it
So
could
yeah,
be.
definitely a good page if anybody is wanting to contribute. You definitely have to be very technical. You have to understand how blockchains work and want to be able to code some sort of improvement. Um, but that's how it's good to know that that's how Ethereum's built. That basically anybody can jump in and
I'll drop that
participate.
link in our chat. Well, hopefully I can.
Oh yeah, we're live.
So I'll drop
Forgot.
drop the link to that in the chat to make that available. Um, okay.
The next link is the page that lists every single Ethereum EIP that we have so far. It starts at
Okay.
2.
There are a lot.
So you can kind of read the titles of those, and those are all like what that EIP is about. Basically, you can kind of see what each one is kind of related to, and I mean it's definitely technical, but
Mm-hmm.
rename, you know, delegate calls, dev P2P forward capability requirements for Homestead, token standards. Definitely a bunch of technical stuff, but this is how we improve Ethereum.
And all of these are essentially coded into the blockchain via. Well, I mean, is there one language that would be used, or could these be written or incorporated in a number of computer languages?
So Ethereum is built on Solidity.
Okay, so all of these ideas, concepts are realized via Solidity.
I believe so. I know that there's like so Solana is a different language, and I know that when I went to the Ethereum event in Denver where I met you,
Mm-hmm.
there was a Solana project that made it possible for you to write contracts for the Solana blockchain in Solidity. So I don't know if there's also projects that probably make it so that you can write Ethereum contracts in Python or whatever. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But the blockchain is built on Solidity, yes.
And oh, gotcha. I forgot to plug the link into my uh, advertisement for this. And let's see. I wonder if anybody's. Oh, we've got one view. That might be you. Let me
Oh,
see.
oh, actually, yeah, I did exit out of that link that you sent me to it. So,
Okay. I'm going to go
well,
back
so
to my plug and see if that gets anybody in here on the off chance. If I can edit it. There we go. Edit post. All right. There we go. And so, a long list. Gosh, I'm not even halfway done.
yep, there's all kinds.
Hundreds.
Yep, and they'll just keep on going. That's what's pretty cool. You know, Bitcoin will never change, but Ethereum just keeps on building and trying to be more useful and keeps upgrading and scaling. And hopefully, we
Yeah, I
keep
see
growing.
some reoccurring names in the authors. Of course, Vitalik has appears several times.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got several reoccurring authors, but it makes sense. But also at the same time, a good variety of names as well.
So the next tab is the ERC20 token standard, which is the EIP that basically made it possible for us to have tokens, different
Okay,
kinds of tokens on the blockchain. That kind of just gives you an example of what an EIP looks like.
this must have been a fairly early one, I would presume.
Right. Well, that's kind of how they're built. It talks about names, symbol, decimals, just kind of how the math works. Solidity is kind of an accounting. It's about accounts and
Okay.
value and transferring numbers and stuff. So this just sets up, like the decimal sets up that the token can be divided by this amount. That way we have, you don't have to just buy one ETH. You can buy this big of a fraction of one.
And there are hundreds of ERC20 tokens, correct?
Yep. And in order to make an ERC20 token, this EIP had to go through the process of being implemented into the protocol.
Okay. And yeah, see Vitalik's name as the author of this one,
Yep.
or co-author, I guess. And yeah, it goes back to 2015. So yes, very, very early on in the history of the network when
Yep.
itself was still uh, had a much lower value than it currently sits at.
Yeah, this is honestly the place to watch for the most up to date information because when somebody wants to upgrade and add a new feature
Mm-hmm.
like NFTs
Right.
or a feature that makes a new product for DeFi or anything, this is the first place that it goes because in order to make it possibly
There has to be an
possible,
EIP for it at first.
yep. So you can
Gotcha.
kind of keep up on the newest stuff just by watching this and that YouTube channel that you told me about, the cat herders.
Mm-hmm.
What is their EIP something? What is their show
Oh,
called?
Peep and Eep.
Peep and Eat. Yep, Peep and Eat.
Yeah.
So they have a show where you can keep up on all the latest information.
Yep, they do. They're always discussing whatever EIPs are on the horizon or in discussion for implementation. Um, so, what was I? Had a particular question about ERC20 tokens. Maybe it'll come back. Okay, so oh, I remember my question. All right, so people talk about if you want to do your own research on the viability of a token and whether or not it's a wise investment. They talk about looking at the white paper. Is an EIP, is that the white paper? No.
Nope,
Okay.
nope. So an EIP is just that is all about the Ethereum protocol. So like giving it a new function, NFTs. Just adding NFTs to Ethereum takes an
Okay.
EIP, but a white paper is more like a company writing about the project that they're building. So
Gotcha.
it's like an overview. They talk about what they're building, what their code's going to do.
I see what you mean.
They're,
I see how that, yeah, EIP is a little bit broader in its application network wide and not necessarily specific to any particular coin or token. Okay.
right.
Moving over one more, we have EIP 1559. What's this?
Yep. Just another example. This is the EIP that went in, I think last fall, that started burning ETH.
Oh, okay.
So this is the EIP that we can thank for the deflationary supply of Ethereum or of Ether, I guess.
Okay. Um, so how, not to go on a tangent or anything, but burning, I know that helps deal with, well, you said deflationary. It keeps the value from sinking down to nothing because there's so many coins in circulation. Uh, how are how are the how is the ether burned, or is this something that uh, is caused by transactions, or what? Any idea what causes that?
So I know that it's meant to like smooth out the transaction fees and that it has to do based like the amount that gets burnt is based off the congestion of the network so that it discourages people from using the blockchain during times of high traffic.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I see a
And
section about gas price, which sounds like what you're describing, how that discouragement might translate into gas prices being high at times versus other times.
yeah, and it also just um, I guess adds to the I feel like Ethereum has to come to a new balance now that we're burning because it adds a new value. It puts it puts like scarcity on how much we should use the blockchain, and we're gonna have to figure out how valuable of a system it is now, because it's just going to get more and more expensive until we say it's too expensive, basically.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because there's less and less ETH, but people are wanting to use it more and more. So it's just going to get more and more expensive until we figure out
Oh, we're talking about what, transaction fees?
the burn,
Oh,
because there's less and less ETH, but
right.
people are still using it more and more.
Hmm. Yeah, that seems like a potential uh, crisis. And as the value of ETH goes up, how do you manage to keep transactions and withdrawal and gas low? Uh, yeah, and I've heard more and more people lately wanting to use L2 platforms because I guess mainnet uh, prices are particularly high for gas right now. I don't.
Yep,
I don't.
yep. So that, I mean, it also, the burn also encourages scaling. You know, the more we scale, the less ETH that we burn, and it just adds a new kind of factor to the whole network that now we, hopefully it keeps us healthy. But that's just another EIP, another example of something that somebody came up with, and it looks like Vbuterin was part of it,
He
and
was,
few
and
a few other people.
yeah, the Abdelhamid Bakhta. I saw his name on several of those EIPs on on an earlier that repository of all of them. That was a reoccurring name that I happened to notice. I'm sure. Um, so these ats, is this Discord? Any idea? By all the authors' names?
Oh, probably Twitter.
Okay.
I just clicked on one. Oh, it did. It took me to GitHub. So
Okay.
that's where you can
Uh,
look at the code that he's written.
gotcha. Okay, so it's like a citation. Okay. Um, moving to the last tab, we have EIP 1, Purpose and Guidelines. Oh, we may have already looked at that.
Yep, I had you click on it from the other page, so
Gotcha.
that one's we don't
Okay,
need.
and we can include the PEEP and EEP uh, link. I can get to that, and so anybody who checks out the chat thread can use that link to stay on top of any upcoming EIP developments. But yeah, there's a lot of information that's already out there, a lot of homework to be done to get you caught up to where the network is at this point.
Yep, if you really want to go through and read all the EIPs, that's a lot of homework for sure.
I
I'm
can't
sure
imagine how
there's
long that would take.
it might be a requirement to become a Ethereum Foundation researcher. I don't know.
Mhm. Maybe so.
Maybe there's
Or at least a working knowledge, if not, a complete and total knowledge.
yep. Maybe it's a lot of good information, but that's hopefully everybody kind of understands what they are now. It's just a way that we, as a community, work together. There's a forum where they all discuss the EIPs. They all get there and have discussions about what code they wrote or what improvement they're talking about, and if there's a bug that came up because of, they're all running testnet stuff, and every improvement brings up bugs that you got to fix, and so the whole community kind of works together. If they feel like the improvement would benefit them, then each different person that's building on Ethereum, if they feel like that proposal is going to help them, they all start working together as a team.
Nice.
So yeah.
Well, I guess we can wrap up a short but very dense Crypto Chronicles episode. But hopefully, people at least were able to get their toes wet a little bit and increase their understanding a little bit of what EIPs are and the role they play. Uh, Krypto, I really want to thank you for taking the time to put together some really good resources to help everybody understand. And it's not the easiest thing to put together, although you make a lot of logical sense. And so, thank you very much for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I hope I helped some people understand.
I think you
That's what.
did, and we can provide some more links. I actually, before we sign off, I'm going to try to get and put it in the thread the Peep and Eep link.
If anybody has any questions or comments, message one of us on Twitter
Yep,
or
Krypto Lingo
comment
and
on the YouTube.
didacticjd on Twitter. You can also leave a comment here. Let's see. There is this
We're just trying to help you guys. So
I would like
if
to
we say
invite
something wrong, I
everyone
don't mind
to
correcting it in the next
take a look at
video. If you
our
It's
guys
good to be here. Good
notice
to
something, or if you
good to
have
be
a
back
question
at
that we
the
can do,
lovely
I
Peep
like
and
doing
Eep.
research. Just like all the stuff that we looked through today, I pulled all that stuff up. And if there's any questions anybody has, just let us know, and we'll try to make a video for you guys.
There's the Ethereum Cat Herders link with episodes of Peep and Eep available on their YouTube channel. And not sure what we're going to talk about next time, but we'll come up with something. But this was a good episode, and thanks again for anyone that takes the time to check this out. And thanks to my partner Krypto Lingo for putting this informative session together.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, and thank you as well.
All right, I'm going to kill the stream. And,